The most powerful promise the world ever made is now broken. That promise has a name, the United Nations. We've all heard that name before. We recognize its blue logo, its famous building with the green carpet and marble rostrum. But have you ever stopped to think about the meaning of the name itself? Nations United? United against invasions, against armies crossing borders and drones striking cities and civilians. United against occupation, against checkpoints and blockades and children dying and naming them collateral damage. United against imperialism, against powerful nations controlling governments and extracting oil in the name of freedom. If you haven't caught it yet, these aren't hypotheticals. These are violations happening as I speak. The very kinds the UN promised it would step in to stop and failed. And I don't say this from a distance. I was there, not in the wars thankfully, but inside the United Nations. Last year, I was selected as a delegate at the National MUN, which is a conference that brings students from around the world to engage in diplomacy. This one specifically is hosted inside New York, inside the United Nations. And when I got the acceptance email, I lost it. I was jumping everywhere. But someone didn't share the excitement, my mother. She kept giving me instructions and asked me if I really should go. But when I finally stepped inside the UN, I felt the weight of history. Even near me, the worn-out chairs, unchanged for decades, which I later found out was due to lack of funding, it felt symbolic. And towards the end of our stay, the Prime Minister of Sweden came in to give a speech at the podium. And I remember him saying that this place is the only place that could bring peace to the world. And I believed him. I wanted to. But belief becomes fragile when the words spoken inside that room don't change what's happening outside of it. In fact, that same day, we had a student debate about which country would be safest in case World War III breaks out. And we came to a conclusion. New Zealand. It's remote and away from all nuclear weapons. And judging by current events, that's exactly what I'm heading to next week. But seriously, you know there's an issue when even UN delegates think about such circumstance. Which brings me to the real issue, how the UN structure that was built to maintain peace became the very reason it struggles to deliver it. And by the end of the session, I'm going to leave you with two pieces of news, one bad and one good. After World War I, humanity learned a brutal lesson. If nations kept solving disputes with force, there wouldn't be much world left to argue over. So in 1920, the League of Nations was created. Yes, the UN wasn't the first organization. But similarly, it aimed to prevent future wars. But then World War II happened. So the League of Nations failed. But it planted an important idea, global cooperation. So in 1945, after World War II, humans tried again, and the United Nations was created. And for that world, almost a century ago now, it worked. But the world changed, and the structure didn't. But why? The answer lies in the UN's 6 principal organs. Today, I'll focus just on 2, because they expose the core of the problem. The first is the General Assembly. This is what you see on the news. World leaders giving speeches at the podium. Every nation is represented and has an equal voice. They debate, vote, and pass resolutions. But here's the problem. These resolutions aren't enforced yet, because there's one more step where the real power sits, the Security Council. Unlike the General Assembly, the Security Council is made up of only 15 countries. 10 of them are elected for 2-year terms by the General Assembly. The other 5 are permanent members. The United States, the United Kingdom, China, France, and Russia. And other than the permanent seats, they have a weapon on their tables, a weapon that led me to give this speech today. It is called the veto power. And it's best explained with a real-life example. Just months ago, A resolution supporting the Palestinian cause received overwhelming international support. So it moved to the Security Council. And again, the majority agreed. But then, across the room, a hand went up. A permanent member. And with a single veto, not just the resolution, but thousands of lives were impacted. And to make it worse, it wasn't once, it wasn't twice, it was 3 vetoes. So here's the real problem. When one country can control global decisions on peace, international tensions will increase. So this begs the question, why did we introduce the veto from the beginning? Ironically, it was designed to maintain peace. After World War II, UN's founders gave major powers the veto as means to prevent them from withdrawing. Exactly what caused the League of Nations to collapse, and what also led to World War II. So to avoid this, we gave 5 countries far more power than the rest. And today, that imbalance creates more problems than solutions. So I ask myself, hey, I'm a delegate. Why not introduce a solution? Or call it a resolution. And you tell me if you would pass it. Keep the veto power. Keep the permanent members. We do not want to repeat the League of Nations mistake. But adjust one thing. Instead of one permanent member blocking everything, a resolution should pass if the majority of the permanent members agree to it. So that's 3 out of the 5. But here's another irony. For this rule to adjust, you'd need all permanent members to agree not to veto it. And let's be honest, why would a country willingly give up a hand that controls the world? So to end this, the United Nations no longer serves the world as we know it. It has become outdated, dysfunctional, and more recently, ignored by the very powers it's meant to restrain. And we've all seen this pattern before, and we all know what followed. This leads me to the 2 pieces of news I want to leave you with. And I'd like to start with the bad. If this continues, we are marching towards the final war, one powerful enough that could erase humanity as we know it. So, what could be the good news? Everyone in this auditorium knows the backup plan. New Zealand. Thank you.